Welcome to Cineworld, where cinema means more. More together times, and I've so been looking forward to this. More gravity-defying, nerve-shredding, eye-widening, jaw-dropping moments. Unlimited movies anytime, and more memories made. More of what you love, at a place you love. Feel more. Feel more at Cineworld.
Hello Cineworlders, Daniel J. Layton here. Welcome to this quiz. Does it have a title? The Cineworld Quiz. The official I don't know. We're just going to ask some questions and you're going to... You know how quizzes work. I don't need to go into the minutiae of how a quiz... They picked me to host this because I'm so good at it. Can you tell? Yes, so focus. I hope you're doing well. I hope you're staying safe. We at Cineworld miss you very much. I know I personally miss Screen 3 at Leicester Square immensely. That's my happy place. But since we can't be together physically, I thought we would do a lovely quiz, a uniting quiz. We'll be brought together in this way. United in our shared love of film and trivia. Wow. Okay, that's the hashtag. Hashtag united in our shared love of film and trivia. It's a workshop. It's a work in progress. I have a fire on there. I do this for comfort. It's either that or it's a recurring montage of Keanu Reeves' face. But I thought that might be too distracted and I want you to focus on the quiz. So, a couple of ground rules before we begin proper. They've given me cards. This is how legit we've gone. You are going to need for this quiz your fierce intellect. It's not written down, I just said that. And a pen and paper to write your answers down. If you're working as a team, might I suggest you nominate a scribe? Because on personal experience, there's nothing worse than like having an answer and trying to find the pen, and then that's how fights happen. Also, I would recommend you give it to the control freak among you, who is usually me. Yeah, and if you're working solo, or if you're in competition with people, maybe you're on a Zoom call. That's the in thing these days, isn't it? That I don't really know how technology works. Can you tell? Then yeah, you don't need the scribe hint, but you know what you're doing. This is me vamping to give you enough time to make sure you've got a pen and paper. I'm going to assume you have that now and move on. In this quiz, there are going to be 6 rounds with 10 questions each. The rounds are box office records, Oscars, film classics, Cineworld cinemas, cult classics, and 2020 so far. So I'm going to read out the answers after each round so you can keep score. No cheating. NB, we aren't going to be awarding an official prize to the winner because, I mean, you figure out how we're going to make sure that everything is legit and above board. We just hope that you're going to have some fun and keep ourselves occupied of an evening, you know, and maybe learn a few things. I know I will because, I mean, I have all the answers, so... Yes, the most important thing, just have yourself some fun. And I think that's about everything. Shall we get on with the quiz? I think so. So round 1, box office records. Are you ready? I shall begin. Question 1, what year did box office records begin? What year did box office records begin? And you'll get a point here for the decade and 2 points if you can get the exact year. Question 2, what is the highest grossing fully animated film at the global box office? What is the highest grossing fully animated film at the global box office? Question 3. What is the highest grossing fully animated film at the UK box office? What is the highest grossing fully animated film at the UK box office? Mixing it up a little bit. Global, UK. Ooh. Question 4. James Bond is our own homegrown super spy. We love him here in Britain. But which James Bond film is the highest grossing film in the UK so far? Which James Bond film is the highest grossing in the UK so far? Question 5. Which recipient of the Oscar for Best Picture is the highest grossing at the UK box office in the past 20 years? Which recipient of the Oscar for Best Picture is the highest grossing at the UK box office in the past 20 years? I know it, because it's written down. Question 6. Of the following 3 films, which took more money at the UK box office? Joker, The Dark Knight Rises, and Dunkirk. Of the following 3 films, which took more money at the UK box office? Joker, The Dark Knight Rises, and Dunkirk. Having a moment in my head where I didn't say The Dark Knight Rises first time. So for clarity, Joker, The Dark Knight Rises, and Dunkirk. Which made more money? Living my full Chris Tarrant fantasy. Which is a very niche fantasy to have, I think. Right, let's go with question 7. Which film has had the highest ever global box office? Not adjusted for inflation. Which film has had the highest ever global box office? And did you see it? Were you a part of it? I was. 6 times. Question 8 then. What film has had the highest ever UK box office? What film has had the highest ever UK box office? Is it a trick question? Is it not a trick question? That's the fun, you see. Don't you love a quiz? Could you imagine if you don't love a quiz and you're at this point of the quiz? Wild. Question 9 then. What is the only film in the global box office top 100 to date that is not in the English language? What is the only film in the global box office top 100 to date that is not in the English language? You get 1 point here for the country and or language, and 2 points if you can name the film. And finally, question 10. Out of the top 100 global box office movies, there are 7 that came out before the 2000s. Name as many as you can. And bonus points if you get the year of release. So out of the top 100 global box office movies, there are 7 that came out before the year 2000. Name them. I dare you. And that's that. That's round 1. Shall we answer the questions? I think so. Now, no cheating, no Googling, no IMDbing, none of that. Just real, true knowledge. Although if you do mess around, who's going to judge you? No one's going to see you. But you'll know. And then when you come into Cineworld, when we're back open, you'll feel the shame. That's not the vibe of the quiz that I'm trying to... That's the answers. Okay, good. So question 1 was, what year did box office records begin? You could get a point for the decade and 2 points for the right year. So the year box office records began was 1937. 1937. Box Office magazine began publishing Box Office, reporting on the performance of movies for the year, expressed as percentages, is the note that I've got written down here. Question 2 was, what is the highest grossing fully animated film at the global box office? If you're a parent, I feel like you're probably familiar. Frozen 2. Frozen 2 is the highest grossing fully animated film at the global box office. It made $1.45 billion. $1.45 billion for Frozen 2. So then the next question was, what is the highest grossing fully animated film at the UK box office? If you put Frozen 2, you are mistaken. It is actually, the correct answer is Toy Story 3, which made £74 million at the box office and brought several adults to tears. Dangerously dehydrated walking out of the cinema when I saw Toy Story 3. Frozen 2, interestingly, in the UK, made $44.7 million by contrast. So, there you go. Question 4 was about James Bond. Which James Bond film is the highest grossing film in the UK so far? The correct answer is, of course, the incomparable Skyfall, which made £103 million and won Adele an Oscar, and has a very good commentary track on the DVD for anyone who's that way inclined. Question 5 was, which recipient of the Oscar for Best Picture is the highest grossing at the UK box office in the past 20 years? It was, of course, The King's Speech, £45.7 million. Just in case anyone who put Slumdog Millionaire, that took £31.6 million. So the correct answer was The King's Speech, starring lovely Colin Firth. Question 6, of the following 3 films, which took more money at the UK box office? Joker, The Dark Knight Rises, and Dunkirk. Here is the official correct order. In at number 3, I'm going to do it like Top of the Pops. In at number 3 with £56 million was The Dark Knight Rises. Just pipping it to the post at number 2 with £57 million was Dunkirk. And the correct answer to this question is, of course, Joker, which earned £58 million at the UK box office. I'm sure that put a happy face on the studio. I'm just trying to, lighten. Yeah. Okay, question 7. Which film has had the highest ever global box office not adjusted for inflation? It is, of course, the behemoth that is Avengers Endgame, which grossed $2.798 billion. $2.798 billion? I think that's how billions work. I don't really know. $2.798 billion. It beat Avatar, which was the previous record holder, which had $2.789 billion. So that's quite nice little symmetry. I wonder if when the Avatars 2, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 all come out, they'll re-release and try and have a little fight. Who knows? What excitement we have to wait. Question 8. What film has had the highest ever UK box office? It was a trick question. Star Wars The Force Awakens is actually the one with the highest ever UK box office. That's £123.2 million. Avengers Endgame is actually the 4th in the UK box office charts, coming in at £88.7 million. Skyfall is number 2 with the aforementioned 103.2, and then Spectre was at 95.2. We do love a bit of Bond, so it's correct answer is The Force Awakens at £123.2 million. Second is Skyfall, third is Spectre, and fourth is Avengers. Did anyone else call Spectre Sceptre for the longest time? I definitely did. Question 9. What is the only film in the global box office top 100 to date that is not in the English language? You got a point for the country and 2 points if you can name the film. It is the Chinese action movie Zhanlang 2, also known as Wolf Warrior 2. So, Chinese, and it's Zhanlang 2, also known as Wolf Warrior 2. And then finally, I'm going to get a card for this one. Question 10 was, out of the top 100 global box office movies, there are 7 that came out before the 2000s. Name as many as you can. You get a point for each one you name, and an extra point if you can name the year that it came out. So, we have, in chronological order, Star Wars Episode 6, A New Hope. Is that Episode 6? Episode 4. I've got my V1 the wrong way around. I'm so sorry to every Star Wars fan who is seething at me right now. Star Wars A New Hope. We'll just do that. That came out in 1977. E.T. the Extraterrestrial was in 1982. Jurassic Park, 1993. The Lion King in 1994. Independence Day in 1996, Titanic, of course, in 1997, and Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. That's definitely Episode 1. I remember it well. As a child, I had every McDonald's toy. So that's round 1. Tot up how you did in round 1. Keep a little tally as we go forward into round 2. I am going to give you a very short break to run to the loo. If you're anything like me, you have a small bladder, you need to at least 3 times during a film. Remarkably, though, during Endgame, I managed to avoid going to the bathroom at all. I had a strategy. I played it to perfection. Also a good time to get any more snacks that you fancy. Nominate Snack Getter Extraordinaire. They can come back with some popcorn. So we'll see you for round 2 in mere seconds, really. Hello, welcome back. Hope you're suitably rested and rehydrated and all the rest. Welcome to round 2. This is the Oscars round. Now, a general warning here, the dates in these questions refer to the year the Oscar was awarded. So, for instance, Joaquin Phoenix won his Oscar in 2020 for Joker, which came out in 2019. He won it in 2020. So, that's the rule of thumb that we're going with here. If my friend Sammy's watching, he's probably quite furious with me, but what are you going to do? Okay. Pens at the ready. Question 1. The record number of Oscar wins for a single film is 11, a feat which has been achieved by 3 films. What are they? And you get 1 point per film. So the record number of Oscar wins for a single film is 11, and 3 films have managed to get 11 Oscars. What are they? I'll fire back. Question 2 is Meryl Streep has been nominated for a record number of Oscars. How many nominations has she received? Meryl Streep has been nominated, quite rightly, I think, for a record number of Oscars. How many nominations has she received? Question 3. Name the last film to win the Big Five at the Oscars. So these are the awards for Best Picture, Best Director, Best Actor, Best Actress, and Best Screenplay. So it had to win all 5 of those. What was the film? The last one to do it. Here's a little clue. It came out in the 1990s. Name the last film to win the Big Five at the Oscars. Question 4. What was the first animated film to be nominated for Best Picture? What was the first animated film to be nominated for Best Picture? Here's another clue. It was in the old 90s. Also the 90s. The 90s were a great decade. And the fashions are coming back, whether we like it or not. Are we ready? Question 5. Tom Hanks won 2 consecutive Oscars in 1994 and 1995. Which films were they for? So Tom Hanks won 2 consecutive Oscars at the ceremonies in 1994 and 1995. What films were they for? Question 6. Which actress won 2 consecutive awards in 1968 and 1969? So, in the ceremonies of 1968 and 1969, an actress won an award 2 years in both of those. I'll just ask why am I trying to vamp it up? Which actress won awards at the ceremonies in 1968 and 1969 consecutively. Simple. Tried to make it more complex. Didn't need to. You've got this. Question 7, then. What was the winner of the Best Original Song Oscar at this year's ceremony? It wasn't long ago, just back in February. What was the winner of the Best Original Song Oscar at the 2020 Oscars? Bonus point if you can sing it. Although, I feel like Neighbours might take the bonus point away. I don't know. Question 8. Who was the first woman to win an Oscar for Best Director? Who was the first, and to date only, woman to win an Oscar for Best Director? And you get a bonus point if you can name the film as well. I should put a disclaimer. Any shade thrown during this broadcast is mine and not that of Cineworld. But come on, Oscars. Up your game. So that was who was the first woman to win an Oscar for Best Director. And you get a bonus point if you can name the film. Question 9. Name the last film to be nominated for 17 awards. Name the last film that was nominated for 17 awards. That's wild. I'm checking that's right. It's not right. 14. I knew it, Carla. I knew that was quite wild. Carla, my colleague, my friend is she? Fibbing. This film was nominated for 14 awards. Which film was it? Extra clue. Came out in 2016. That's when the film came out. So, question 9 was named the last film to be nominated for 14 awards at the Oscars. And question 10, at the 2010 ceremony, 2 films were nominated for Best Picture that were available in 3D. What were they? 2 films at the 2010 ceremony were nominated for Best Picture that were available in 3D. What were the films? Righty-ho. After that, it wouldn't be an Oscars round if there wasn't a little scandal in there, would it? Let's be honest. So let's go through the answers. Question 1. The record number of Oscar wins for a single film is 11, a feat which has been achieved by 3 films. And those films are Ben-Hur, Titanic, and of course, Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King. So you get a point for each of those you got right. That's Ben-Hur, Titanic, and Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King. Question 2 was Meryl Streep has been nominated for a record number of Oscars. How many nominations has she received? The answer is, of course, 21. She's won 3 of them, but nominated for 21. That is a win-loss record that no one would be pleased with. And yet, there you go. Question 3 was named the last film to win the Big 5 at the Oscars. So the last film to win Best Picture, Best Director, Best Actor, Best Actress, and Best Screenplay all at the same time was Silence of the Lambs. Question 4, what was the first animated film to be nominated for Best Picture? It was Beauty and the Beast in 1992. It was the 92 ceremony, came out in 91. The first film, this is a sidebar, the first film to win Best Animated Feature, the first year it was announced, was Shrek. Another reason to love Shrek. Okay, question 5 was Tom Hanks won 2 consecutive Oscars in 1994 and 1995. He won those for Philadelphia and Forrest Gump. And rightly deserved they were. Philadelphia and Forrest Gump. Question 6. Which actress won 2 consecutive awards in 1968 and 1969? It was the legendary Katharine Hepburn. Katharine Hepburn. Question 7. What was the winner of the Best Original Song Oscar at this year's awards ceremony? It was, of course, I'm Gonna Love Me Again by Elton John and Bernie Taupin from the film Rocket Man. Question 8 was who was the first woman to win an Oscar for Best Director? It was, of course, Catherine Bigelow, and she won it for The Hurt Locker in 2009. So you get a bonus point there if you named Hurt Locker, but the answer is, of course, Catherine Bigelow. Question 9, name the last film to be nominated for 14 awards. I promise this wasn't a bit, I didn't plan it. It just was it was La La Land. It wasn't Moonlight, it wasn't any other movie. La La Land just can't catch a break, can they? Well, I mean, they could, they won 6 Oscars, but they were nominated for 14. So there we go. And finally, question 10. At the 2010 ceremony, 2 films were nominated for Best Picture, and they were available in 3D. What were they? They were Avatar and Up, the Pixar classic. Yet again, sobbing the whole way through. So, how did you do on that one? Top them up. Going to take another quick break, recalibrate. I need it, apparently, before we head on to round 3. Alrighty then. Film reference. Wow. That's round 3. Film classics. Okay, so pen and paper's at the ready. Here we go. Question 1. What was the name of the sequel to Stanley Kubrick's The Shining that was released last year? The Shining is, of course, a classic film, but what was the name of the sequel to that film that was released last year? Question 2. Renee Zellweger won every Best Actress award going for playing which iconic actress, best known for her role in The Wizard of Oz? Renee Zellweger this past year won every Best Actress award going for playing which iconic actress who's best known for her role in The Wizard of Oz? Ready? Question 3. Which 1940s cinematic classic, often cited as the greatest film ever made, was nominated for 9 Oscars, but only won 1? Which 1940s cinematic classic, often cited as the greatest film ever made, was nominated for 9 Oscars, but surprisingly only won 1? Here's a clue. The one it won was Best Writing Original Screenplay. Moving swiftly on to question 4. Which of the Godfather movies has the highest score on Rotten Tomatoes? So which of the Godfather movies has the highest score on Rotten Tomatoes? Now on to question 5. What's the name of the American actress known as the prototypical blonde bombshell who starred in the 1959 classic Some Like It Hot? What's the name of the American actress known as the prototypical blonde bombshell who starred in 1959 classic Some Like It Hot? You know that one. I'm sure you do. Don't forget to put your name at the top of this sheet, because you get a point for putting your name. Do you remember when they told you that at school? I don't know if that's true. It is in our quiz. Put your name at the top and you get 1 point at the very least. Question 6. Alfred Hitchcock perfected the art of the cameo. In how many of his own movies did he make a blink and you'll miss it appearance? Alfred Hitchcock perfected the art of the cameo. In how many of his own movies did he make a blink and you'll miss it appearance? It's a multiple choice question, this one. Was it 11 times, 24 times, or 39? Alfred Hitchcock perfected the art of the cameo. In how many of his own movies did he make a blink and you'll miss it appearance? 11, 24, or 39? Question 7. One of my favourite films, Sunset Boulevard, was named after the road of the same name. In which city can this road be found? Sunset Boulevard was named after the road of the same name. In which city can this road be found? Question 8. Finish this famous quote from Casablanca. I think this is the beginning of... Finish this famous quote from Casablanca. I think this is the beginning of... The record you like. Just me? Maybe you? Who knows? I'm on my own. Good. Okay, wow. Move on. Question 9. After adjusting for inflation, which 1939 classic would have been the highest ever global box office? Grammar. After adjusting for inflation, which 1939 classic would have the highest ever global box office? After adjusting for inflation, which 1939 classic would have the highest ever global box office? Got there in the end. And finally, question 10. Audrey Hepburn was a British actress recognised as a film and fashion icon. Name at least 3 of her movies. Audrey Hepburn was a British actress recognised as a film and fashion icon. Name at least 3 of her movies. You might think that's easy, but it's like the States game in America when you think you've listed them all and then you always forget one. Give you a few more seconds to jot down some Audrey movies. And then on with the answers to round 3. We're speeding through this, halfway through already. Question 1. What was the name of the sequel to Stanley Kubrick's The Shining that was released last year? It was, of course, Dr. Sleep. Question 2 was Renee Zellweger won every Best Actress award going this year for playing which iconic actress best known for her role in The Wizard of Oz? It is, of course, our good Judy Garland. Question 3 was which 1940s cinematic classic, often cited as the greatest film ever made, was nominated for 9 Oscars but surprisingly only won 1? It was, of course, Citizen Kane, which I went to see in my first year of my film degree at uni to try and impress people, and I was the only one there. Okay, question 4. Which of the Godfather movies has the highest score on Rotten Tomatoes? Well, I'm sure you won't be surprised to know the correct answer is, of course, The Godfather, number 1, 98% with critics and audiences. In second place is The Godfather Part 2 with 97% with critics and audiences. And then trailing along, The Godfather Part 3 has a 68% score with critics and a 78% score with audiences. So that's the law of diminishing returns in full effect, I think. Good. Question 5. What's the name of the American actress known as the prototypical blonde bombshell who starred in the 1959 classic Some Like It Hot? It's Marilyn Monroe. Alfred Hitchcock perfected the art of the cameo. In how many of his own movies did he make a blink and you'll miss it appearance? Was it 11, 24, or 39? It was 39. Sunset Boulevard was named after the road with the same name. In which city can this road be found? Where else? Los Angeles, California. Number 8. Finish this famous line from Casablanca. I think this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship. And if you think that question was easy, you should know that several people at Cineworld in the team got it wrong. These are people who know. These are people who know movies, and they still managed to get it wrong. It's the easy ones. They trip you up, I'm telling you. Question 9. After adjusting for inflation, which 1939 classic would have the highest ever global box office? That is a tongue twister. Thank you, Carla, for writing that one down. Of course, the answer is Gone with the Wind. Gone with the Wind made $402 million worldwide in 1939. In today's money, that would be $7.4 billion. So let's compare that with Endgame, and it's nearly $3 billion. Wowzers. Money makes the world go round. And number 10. Audrey Hepburn was a British actress recognised as a film and fashion icon. Name at least 3 of her movies. So tick a point. I'm going to be generous. Tick a point for every single one of these you get. Dutch in 7 Lessons, One Wild Oat, Young Wives' Tale, Laughter in Paradise, The Lavender Hill Mob, Secret People, Monte Carlo Baby, Roman Holiday, Sabrina, War and Peace, Love in the Afternoon, Funny Face, Green Mansions, The Nun's Story, The Unforgiven, Breakfast at Tiffany's, The Children's Hour, Charade, Paris When It Sizzles, My Fair Lady, How to Steal a Million, Two for the Road, Wait Until Dark, Robin and Marion, Bloodline, They All Laughed, and Always. Give yourselves a round of applause. That's round 3, ladies and gentlemen. That's the film classics round. I need another cup of tea, I think. I bleed tea at this point. So I will see you shortly for round 4. Welcome back. We're on now to round 4. This round is all about us. It's all about Cineworld Cinemas. It's the navel-gazing portion of the evening. Because self-care. That's my justification anyway. Okay, pens at the ready. Question 1. In litres, by volume, how much popcorn does Cineworld go through in an average year? In litres, by volume, how much popcorn does Cineworld go through in an average year? Here's a clue. It's in the millions. And here's a second clue. It would fill more than 9 Olympic-sized swimming pools. The closest answer among yourselves is the one that gets the point. I'm going to say... I'm going to give you a plus or minus of... I'm going to give you a plus or minus of 1 million. There you go. That's the official edict from Daniel J. If you get this answer to within 1 million, you've got it. So the question was, in litres by volume, how much popcorn does Cineworld go through in the average year? Question 2. What are the 3 regular icy flavours available at Cineworld? What are the 3 regular icy flavours available at Cineworld? Question 3. What year was the first 4DX open in the UK? A bonus point if you can answer how many Cineworld cinemas now have 4DX. So the question is, what year was the first 4DX cinema opened in the UK? And a bonus point if you can answer how many 4DX screens are available at Cineworlds. Stomach. Did you hear that? If not, I've just drawn your attention to the fact that my stomach is rumbling. It's probably all that talk about popcorn. Question 4. What is the highest grossing 4DX release ever at the UK box office? What is the highest grossing 4DX release ever in the UK box office so far? Question 5. How many Cineworld cinemas are there across the UK and Ireland? How many Cineworld cinemas are there across the UK and Ireland? If I was hungry before, I'm going to be hungry now. Question 6. If you laid down all of the rollover hot dog sausages sold at Cineworld in an average year, how long in kilometres would the total length be? If you laid down all of the rollover hot dog sausages sold at Cineworld in an average year, how long in kilometres would the total length be? And as a clue, it's roughly the distance between Cineworld Leicester Square in London and Cineworld Rugby. Closest answer gets the point. So again, I'm going to give you a plus or minus. If you fall in the nearest 10 kilometres. No, the nearest 5 kilometres. We're going to challenge you. If you fall within the nearest 5 kilometres, plus or minus, you get the point. If you laid down all of the rollover hot dog sausages sold at Cineworld in an average year, how long in kilometres would the total length be? All right, question 7. ScreenX is a 270-degree viewing experience with 3 screens, only available at Cineworld in the UK. But when did the first Cineworld ScreenX open? And a bonus point if you can name the first film available in ScreenX in the UK. So ScreenX is a 270-degree viewing experience with 3 screens, and it's only available at Cineworld in the UK. But when did the first Cineworld ScreenX open? Bonus point if you can name the first film that was available in ScreenX. You know, earlier on when I said there was a law of diminishing returns, it's the same with cups of tea. If you use the same mug, the second isn't as good, is it? I think. Oh well, what are you going to do? Question 8. How many kilograms of Candy King Pick and Mix sweets get eaten at Cineworld in an average year? How many kilograms of Candy King Pick and Mix sweets get eaten at Cineworld in an average year? And I think you can get the point, plus or minus. I'll decide in a minute. Kept you on dead hooks when I give you the answer. Don't want to give too much away. How many kilograms of Candy King Pick and Mix sweets get eaten at Cineworld in an average year? Question 9. Cineworld Unlimited card holders regularly have the chance to see a number of films early at our Unlimited screenings. How many Unlimited screenings were there in 2019? So, Cineworld Unlimited card holders like me, we have the option to see a number of films early at Unlimited screenings. How many Unlimited screenings were there in 2019? If you listen very closely, that's the sound of people rushing to find their tickets that they've kept. Mine are all on my wall. And finally, question 10. How many thousands of litres of Baskin-Robbins ice cream get served at Cineworld in an average year? How many thousand litres of Baskin-Robbins ice cream get served at Cineworld in an average year? And as a clue, it would fill over 5,000 barrels. So plus or minus 5,000, I think, and you can get the point. How many thousands of litres of Baskin-Robbins ice cream get served at Cineworld in an average year? And that's question 10. Give you a few more seconds. Okie dokie. Answer time. Pens down and then back up again so that you can mark. Question 1. In litres by volume, how much popcorn does Cineworld go through in an average year? The correct answer is 23.1 million litres. 23.1 million litres. So if you can get that plus or minus, like, if you said anywhere between, let's say 21 to 25 million, it's arbitrary. There's no winner. Just us. Question 2 was, what are the 3 regular icy flavours available at Cineworld? The answer is cherry, blue raspberry, and Vimto. Or if you're my friend Josh, all 3 at once. What year was the first 4DX opened in the UK? What year was the first 4DX opened in the UK? And a bonus point if you can answer how many Cineworld cinemas now have 4DX. So the first 4DX cinema opened in the UK was in 2015, and it was at Cineworld Milton Keynes. And there are now 28 Cineworld cinemas with a 4DX auditorium. I saw Frozen 2 in 4DX. Had a very nice time. Question 4 was, what's the highest grossing 4DX release ever in the UK box office so far? And the answer is Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker. Question 5, how many Cineworld cinemas are there across the UK and Ireland? The answer is 102. There are 102 Cineworld cinemas across the UK and Ireland. Question 6 was, I really am very hungry now. If you laid all of the rollover hot dog sausages sold at Cineworld in an average year down on the ground, how long in kilometres would the total length be? And the answer is 155 kilometres. 155 kilometres. So I'm gonna give you the point if you're anywhere between 150 and 160. That's my official edict. Benevolent Daniel J. Question 7. ScreenX is a 270-degree viewing experience with 3 screens only available at Cineworld in the UK. When did the first Cineworld ScreenX open? It was in August of 2018. 2 ScreenX auditoriums opened at the same time at the Cineworld in the O2 in London and at the brand new Cineworld in Speak, which opened with ScreenX. And as a bonus point, if you wanted it, the film that came out, the first film that was available in ScreenX was Ant-Man and the Wasp. Question 8. How many kilograms of Candy King Pick and Mix sweets get eaten at Cineworld in an average year? The answer was 236,000 kilograms, which is, according to these notes, equivalent to the weight of 368 Hulks. About half of that is me. So 236,000 kilograms. If you said anywhere between 233,000 and 239,000, I'm going to give you the point. Question 9. Cineworld Unlimited card holders regularly have the chance to see a number of films early at Unlimited screenings. How many Unlimited screenings were there in 2019? The answer was 20. So there were 20 Unlimited screenings in 2019, and if you went to all of them, I think you can give yourself a bonus point, at the very least. And finally, question 10. How many thousands of litres of Baskin-Robbins ice cream get served at Cineworld in an average year? The answer was 828,000 litres. 828,000 litres. So if you said anywhere between 820 and 830,000, put yourself a little tick. That's a hard round, I think. So I think a round of applause for yourself. Bonus point for just doing the round. Well done. Who's going to check? No one. I'm giving it to you. You're welcome. Good. And that's that round. Fantastic. So let's take another little break. I want a hot dog now, so maybe I'll put one in the oven, and we'll reconvene momentarily for round 5. Five, 4, 3, 2, 1, 5. Round 5. We're on round 5. Round 5. This round is dedicated to cult classics. What defines cult classic? They become a classic after the fact. Cats, I think, is going to be a cult classic. the midnight screenings of people dressing as cats to sing along to Cats. Can't wait. They're going to be great. That's a thing to look forward to when we're allowed back in the outside world. Or is it? You decide. Okay, pens at the ready. Question 1. How many candy canes does Glen Coco get in Mean Girls? How many candy canes are awarded to Glen Coco in Mean Girls? Bonus point, how many households across the UK are currently doing an impression of the Glen Coco moment? Question 2. Which English rock star lobbied to play Dr. Frank Enfurter in the Rocky Horror Picture Show? Which English rock star lobbied to play Dr. Frank Enfurter in the Rocky Horror Picture Show? Not who played it, who wanted to play it. Okay, question 3. In Inglourious Basterds, who did Quentin Tarantino originally want to cast as Colonel Lander, later played by Christoph Waltz? So, in Inglourious Basterds, who did Quentin Tarantino originally want to cast as Colonel Lander, later played by Christoph Waltz? It's a relatively limited pool to pick from. He likes the same people, doesn't he? Question 4. Which famous director co-edited Jim Henson's Labyrinth? Which famous director co-edited Jim Henson's Labyrinth? Excuse me. Question 5. The first rule of this movie is that you don't talk about this movie. The first rule of this movie is you don't talk about this movie. What's the movie? Question 6. In The Big Lebowski, how many times does Jeff Bridges' character, the Dude, say the word man? In The Big Lebowski, how many times does Jeff Bridges' character, the Dude, say the word man? Question 7. What is the name of the 2003 film lovingly known as the Citizen Kane of bad movies that has become a cultural phenomenon? What is the name of the 2003 film lovingly known as the Citizen Kane of bad movies that has become a cultural phenomenon? And a bonus point if you can name the director. No bonus points for the impression that I know you're all doing. Question 8. The Princess Bride is beloved by so many. What year did it first hit cinema screens? So, what year did The Princess Bride first hit cinema screens? Question 9. Stanley Kubrick is frequently cited among the most influential filmmakers of cinematic history. Name as many of his films as you can. You can get a point per film. Stanley Kubrick is frequently cited as one of the most influential filmmakers in cinematic history. Name as many of his films as you can. If you're working as a team, nominate one person to keep the brain ticking over to the next question. And here we go then. Question 10. In the pinnacle of British cinema that is Spice World, the movie, A pitch is made that the girls star in a show called Spice Force 5. Which Quentin Tarantino movie is this a reference to? In the absolute pinnacle, the crown jewel of British cinema, Spice World the movie, a pitch is made that the girls will star in a show called Spice Force 5. Which Quentin Tarantino movie is that a reference to? Spice Force 5? That's how it goes. All right then. Answer time. So, question 1. How many candy canes does Glen Coco get in Mean Girls? Of course, it's 4. 4 for you, Glen Coco. You go, Glen Coco. Question 2. Which English rock star lobbied to play Dr. Frank Enfurter in the Rocky Horror Picture Show? It was Mick Jagger. And let's all take a second to imagine a world where Mick Jagger was in the Rocky Horror Picture Show. Question 3. In Inglourious, who did Quentin Tarantino originally want to cast as Colonel Lander, later played by Christoph Waltz? Of course, it was Leo DiCaprio. His paramour, in many ways. Question 4. Which famous director co-edited Jim Henson's Labyrinth? It was George Lucas. Jim Henson said that he cuts dialogue tightly. Well, Lucas cuts dialogue tightly. He's the opposite, so it's good to have that little second opinion sometimes. If you work well together. Question 5, the first rule of this movie is that you don't talk about this movie, and I'm going to break that rule to give you the answer. Of course, it's Fight Club. Question 6, in The Big Lebowski, how many times does Jeff Bridges' character, the dude, say the word man? The answer is he says it 147 times. That's nearly 1.5 times per minute. I think if you said anywhere between 140 to 150, you can have a point for that one. Question 7. What is the name of the 2003 film lovingly known as the Citizen Kane of bad movies? It is, of course, The Room. And a bonus point, it is directed by Tommy Wiseau. Oh, hi, Mark, is the impression that I told you to not do. Question 8. The Princess Bride is beloved by so many. What year did it first hit cinema screens? It was in 1987. Princess Bride came out in 1987. I'm going to go back to the cards for this one. Stanley Kubrick is frequently cited as one of the most influential filmmakers in cinematic history. Name as many of his films as you can. So a point for each one of these that you get. Flying Padre, Day of the Fight, The Seafarers, Fear and Desire, Killer's Kiss, The Killing, Paths of Glory, Spartacus, Lolita, Doctor Strangelove, 2001: A Space Odyssey, A Clockwork Orange, Barry Lyndon, The Shining, Full Metal Jacket, and Eyes Wide Shut. There you go. Quite the resume. And finally, question 10. In the pinnacle of British cinema, Spice World the movie, a pitch is made that the girls star in a show called Spice Force 5. Which Quentin Tarantino movie is this a reference to? It is a reference to Fox Force 5, a TV pilot Uma Thurman's character Mia Wallace supposedly starred in, mentioned in Pulp Fiction. So the answer is Pulp Fiction. Spice World and Pulp Fiction have a unity. It's one of the best movies ever made. I'm just saying. Thank you very much for taking part there in round 5. One more round. So if you're looking at your total and it's looking a bit anemic, perhaps it's time to up your game. So take a second, breathe, have a pace, psych yourself up, give it you go, Glen Coco, and I'll see you in round 6. It's the final countdown. Da-da-da-da. Da-da-da-da-da. Yeah. Okay, we're on round 6. The 6th and final round of this here, the very first Cineworld quiz. So, pens at the ready. Let's get cracking. Question 1. Which film has taken the most money at the UK box office in 2020 so far? Which film has taken the most money at the UK box office in 2020 so far? This round is, of course, all about the year 2020, if I didn't say that before. Which film has taken the most money at the UK box office in 2020 so far? Question 2. Which black and white film released earlier this year starred Robert Pattinson and Willem Dafoe? Which black and white film released earlier this year starred Robert Pattinson and Willem Dafoe? Question 3. Charlize Theron, Margot Robbie, and Nicole Kidman star in the biographical drama Bombshell, based on true events. They take action against Fox chairman Roger Ailes. But who plays him in the film? Charlize Theron, Margot Robbie, and Nicole Kidman star in the biographical drama Bombshell, based on true events. They take action against Fox chairman Roger Ailes. But who plays him in the film? Question 4. Which film, released in January this year and starring Daniel Kaluuya, was our most recent Secret Unlimited screening back in December? Which film, released in January this year starring Daniel Kaluuya, was our most recent Secret Unlimited screening back in December? Question 5. Name the 2 family films that have made over £15 million at the UK box office so far this year. Name the 2 family films that have made over £15 million at the UK box office so far this year. Question 6. Which British actor played the character of Fletcher in Guy Ritchie's The Gentleman? Which British actor played the character of Fletcher in Guy Ritchie's The Gentleman? Question 7. What is the only film Mark Ruffalo has starred in so far this year? What is the only film Mark Ruffalo has starred in so far this year? Question 8. Dev Patel starred in The Personal History of David Copperfield in January. But what is the biggest January release that he's ever starred in? Dev Patel starred in The Personal History of David Copperfield in January, but what is the biggest January release that he's ever starred in? Question 9. Who plays the mother in Taika Waititi's film Jojo Rabbit? Who plays the mother in Jojo Rabbit, directed by Taika Waititi? And question 10. Which film was released in the UK in 2019 but still finds itself in the top 3 of 2020 so far? Which film was released in the UK in 2019 but still finds itself in the top 3 of 2020 so far? And that's your lot. That's the final question of the quiz. So, let's go back and take a look at the answers. Question 1. Which film has taken the most money at the UK box office in 2020 so far? It's, of course, 1917. It's taken £43.7 million, which is hugely impressive. Absolutely incredible film, one to see on the biggest screen possible. Question 2 was, which black and white film released earlier this year starred Robert Pattinson and Willem Dafoe? It was The Lighthouse. The Lighthouse. Willem Dafoe plays an 18th, or is it 19th century lighthouse keeper. And I can't take credit for this. This is my friend Sammy's line. It's the first time Willem Dafoe has made sense as a concept. It's absolutely fantastic. Question 3. Charlize Theron, Margot Robbie and Nicole Kidman star in the biographical drama Bombshell. They take action against Fox chairman Roger Ailes. Who played Roger Ailes? The answer is John Lithgow. After he's played Churchill in The Crown, and now Roger Ailes is carving a niche for himself as a jowly man. Question 4. Which film released in January this year starring Daniel Kaluuya was our most recent Secret Unlimited screening back in December? It was Queen and Slim. Incredibly slick film. Just dripping with style. Question 5. Name the 2 family films that have made over £15 million at the UK box office so far this year. They were Dolittle and Sonic the Hedgehog. The little hedgehog that could. Six. Which British actor played the character of Fletcher in Guy Ritchie's The Gentleman? It was Hugh Grant. Hugh Grant. Question 7. What is the only film Mark Ruffalo has starred in so far this year? It is Dark Waters. Question 8 was Dev Patel starred in The Personal History of David Copperfield in January, but what is the biggest January release that he's ever starred in? It was, of course, Slumdog Millionaire. Way back when. Question 9. Who plays the mother in Taika Waititi's film Jojo Rabbit? Scarlett Johansson plays the mother in Jojo Rabbit. And finally, question 10. Which film was released in the UK in 2019 but still finds itself in the top 3 of 2020 so far? It's Little Women. Little Women has taken £16.7 million in 2020. Comes in at number 3 after 1917 took 43 million and Sonic the Hedgehog took 19 million. Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker has taken 14 million so far. So, well done, Little Women. Absolutely lovely film. Can't wait to watch it every Christmas. And that's Shallot, as they say in kitchens up and down the country. They don't. I just wanted a snappy line to close on. Tot up your points, write them at the top of the paper, big circle around them, give yourself a pat on the back, nice round of applause. Thank you so much for joining us for this quiz. We hope you've had fun. We certainly have. All that's left to say is we miss you very much. Can't wait to reopen as soon as possible. In the meantime, we have uploaded our Cineworld pre-movie reel to YouTube. So if you want to add a bit of movie-going magic to your at-home film nights, check out our channel and you can find that there. I do it. It's quite. If nothing else, it adds a bit of pressure so that you know you've got until the end of the reel to get yourself seated and comfortable before the movie begins. And as well as that, of course, we have our blog, which is still quite happily, merrily rolling along. Not only can you find the latest movie news there, such as the new release dates as and when we get them, but also some movie inspiration for things to watch while we're in lockdown. So things like the 9 classic movies that were turned into stage musicals, 14 classic buddy comedies to lift your spirits, that kind of thing. So don't forget to check out the Cineworld blog if you're wondering what to chuck on of an evening. Thank you so much for joining us again. Stay safe. Can't wait to see you very soon.